The kiss that saved Elise Montgomery's life wasn't supposed to happen. But as Marcus Wright's lips pressed against hers, oxygen flowing from his lungs into hers, neither of them could have imagined how that single moment would alter their destinies forever. If you're wondering whether true love can bloom from the most unexpected circumstances, stay with me until the end of this story. And if you're enjoying this journey, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming tales that remind us how life can change in an instant. Marcus Wright's mop squeaked against the polished marble floor of Montgomery Tower as he worked the night shift. At 42, his calloused hands told the story of a man who had spent the last 15 years cleaning up after the wealthy executives who barely noticed his existence. The janitor's uniform hung loosely on his frame, a silent testament to the meals he'd skipped to ensure his 10-year-old daughter Lily never went hungry. "Almost done, Mr. Wright?" asked the night security guard, checking his watch. "Just finishing up the executive floor, then I'm heading home," Marcus replied, glancing at his own watch. If he hurried, he might make it home before Lily fell asleep. Their elderly neighbor Mrs. Patel couldn't stay too late, and Marcus hated missing those precious moments with his daughter. The elevator doors opened to the top floor, revealing a corridor of darkened offices. All except one. Light spilled from beneath the door of the CEO's office, unusual for 11 p.m. on a Friday night. Marcus hesitated, then pushed his cleaning cart forward. The executives usually preferred their spaces cleaned when they weren't around, but he needed to finish his shift. He knocked gently. "Cleaning service." No answer. He knocked again, louder this time. Still nothing. Something didn't feel right. Marcus turned the handle and pushed the door open. Elise Montgomery, the 38-year-old billionaire CEO of Montgomery Industries, lay collapsed on the floor beside her desk, her face turning an alarming shade of blue. A half-eaten salad sat on her desk, and her EpiPen lay just beyond her outstretched fingers. Marcus dropped his mop and rushed to her side. "Ms. Montgomery? Can you hear me?" Her eyes, wide with panic, locked onto his. She clawed at her throat, the universal sign of choking. Marcus had been a lifeguard in his youth, before life had taken unexpected turns. The training kicked in automatically. He positioned himself behind her, performed the Heimlich maneuver, but whatever was blocking her airway wouldn't dislodge. Her lips were turning blue, her struggles weakening. "Hang on," he urged, laying her down and tilting her head back. Without hesitation, he sealed his lips over hers and breathed life into her lungs. 1 breath. 2. 3. On the 4th breath, Elisa's body convulsed. Marcus quickly turned her to her side as she coughed violently, expelling a piece of walnut from her salad. She gasped, drawing in ragged breaths as color slowly returned to her face. "The EpiPen," she rasped, pointing weakly. Marcus grabbed it, removed the cap, and following her barely audible instructions, jabbed it into her thigh through her designer skirt. He held it there for 10 seconds, counting aloud, his other hand squeezing hers. "I've got you. Just breathe," he said, already reaching for his phone to call an ambulance. As the paramedics loaded Elise into the ambulance 20 minutes later, her eyes found Marcus standing awkwardly in the lobby, his mop and bucket forgotten upstairs. "You're coming with me," she insisted, her voice hoarse but commanding. "I can't. My daughter. Call whoever's watching her. Tell them it's an emergency. Please." Something in her voice, a vulnerability beneath the authority, made Marcus nod. Mrs. Patel, bless her heart, agreed to stay the night. "Don't worry about Lily," she assured him. "Just go do what you need to do." At the hospital, Marcus sat uncomfortably in the waiting room, his janitor's uniform drawing curious glances from the staff. He shouldn't be here. This wasn't his world. He was about to leave when a doctor approached him. "Are you Marcus Wright? Ms. Montgomery is asking for you." Elise sat propped up in a private room that looked more like a hotel suite than a hospital room. The severe business attire was gone, replaced by a hospital gown that somehow made her look more human, more vulnerable. "You saved my life," she said simply. Marcus shrugged, embarrassed. Anyone would have done the same. "No," she shook her head. "The security footage shows 3 people walked past my office while I was on the floor. They heard me fall but didn't check. You were the only one who came in." An uncomfortable silence stretched between them, the billionaire CEO and the janitor who had pressed his lips to hers to keep her alive. "I have a severe nut allergy," she explained. "The new chef must have cross-contaminated my salad. I usually check, but I was distracted by quarterly reports and—" She trailed off, then fixed him with an intense gaze. "You have training." "I was a lifeguard. A lifetime ago." "You have a daughter?" Marcus nodded, surprised she'd been aware enough to remember that detail. "Lily. She's 10. Her mother? Cancer. 5 years ago." Elise's expression softened. "I'm sorry." Marcus glanced at his watch. It was nearly 2 a.m. "I should go." "I'm glad you're okay, Ms. Montgomery." "Elise," she corrected. "And wait. Please." She reached for her purse on the bedside table and withdrew a business card and a pen. She scribbled something on the back. "My personal number. If you ever need anything at all, call me." Marcus took the card automatically, though he knew he would never use it. Their worlds were too different. Tonight had been an aberration, a momentary intersection of lives that were never meant to cross paths. "Thank you," he said, tucking the card into his pocket. "Get some rest, Ms. Elise." As he turned to leave, she called after him. "Marcus? How did you end up as a janitor? With your quick thinking and skills." He paused at the door. "Life doesn't always go as planned. Good night, Elise." The next morning, Marcus woke to Lily bouncing on his bed, her curly hair wild around her face. "Dad! Dad! There's a fancy lady at our door." Marcus bolted upright, disoriented. "What?" "She says she knows you. She's got a driver and everything." Throwing on a t-shirt with his sweatpants, Marcus hurried to the door of their modest 2-bedroom apartment. There, looking completely out of place in the dingy hallway of his apartment building, stood Elise Montgomery. Gone was the hospital gown, replaced by a casual but obviously expensive outfit of jeans and a silk blouse. Her driver stood a respectful distance away. "I'm sorry to intrude," she said, taking in his disheveled appearance. "I should have called first, but I realized I had your address from your employee file and not your number." "How are you even out of the hospital?" Marcus asked, bewildered. "I checked myself out this morning. I don't do well with enforced rest." Her eyes moved past him to where Lily peeked around his legs. "You must be Lily." "I'm Elise." Lily stepped forward, extending her hand with the formal politeness Marcus had taught her. "Pleased to meet you, Ms. Elise. Did my dad really save your life?" Elise crouched down to Lily's level, taking the small hand in hers. "He absolutely did. Your father is a hero." Lily beamed with pride, looking up at Marcus. "I told you you're a superhero, Dad." Marcus felt his cheeks warm. "Lily, why don't you go get dressed while I talk to Ms. Montgomery?" Once Lily had skipped off to her room, Marcus turned to Elise. "This isn't necessary. I was just doing what anyone would do." "But that's just it, Marcus. Not anyone would have done what you did." She glanced around the apartment, taking in the worn furniture, the water stain on the ceiling, the school photos of Lily carefully arranged on the wall. "I'd like to offer you a job." "I have a job. A different job. One that uses your skills better than pushing a mop. Head of security for Montgomery Industries." Marcus stared at her, certain he'd misheard. "I'm not qualified for that." You have military experience. Yes, I looked at your file. You were a lifeguard. You kept your head in a crisis and saved my life when others walked past. That's exactly what I need in security. She named a salary that made Marcus's knees weak. Why would you do this? You don't know me. Elise's expression turned serious. When you're choking to death on the floor of your office and people walk past because they're afraid to intrude on the boss, it makes you reevaluate a few things. I need people who value human life over corporate hierarchy. Besides, her lips curved into a small smile, we've already kissed. I think that breaks the ice. Marcus couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. That wasn't exactly a kiss. Details, she waved her hand dismissively. Will you at least think about it? Before he could answer, Lily came bounding back, now dressed in her favorite purple outfit. Dad, can Ms. Elise stay for breakfast? I want to show her my science project. Elise looked at him questioningly. Marcus sighed, knowing he was outnumbered. I hope you like slightly burned pancakes. They're my favorite, Elise replied with a smile that reached her eyes. That breakfast changed everything. As Lily enthusiastically explained her solar system project, Marcus watched Elise engage with his daughter, asking thoughtful questions and offering suggestions. There was none of the condescension he'd expected from someone of her status. Instead, she seemed genuinely interested, even pulling out her phone to show Lily photos from her visit to NASA the previous year. You like space? Elise asked Lily. I'm going to be an astronaut, Lily declared with the absolute certainty only a 10-year-old could muster. Or maybe a doctor. Or both. A doctor-astronaut, Elise nodded seriously. The world needs more of those. After breakfast, as Lily went to gather her project materials to show Elise more details, Marcus found himself alone with the billionaire at his chipped formica table. She's remarkable, Elise said softly. She's everything to me, Marcus replied. After her mother died, I promised myself I'd do whatever it took to give her a good life. Even if it meant cleaning floors at night so you could be with her during the day? Marcus nodded. The schedule works. I'm home when she gets back from school. Mrs. Patel watches her at night. It's not ideal, but you're making it work, Elise finished for him. The security position would be daytime hours, Marcus. Benefits, health insurance, college fund contributions. The mention of a college fund made his heart skip. He'd been saving what he could, but Lily's education fund was woefully inadequate. Still, he hesitated. Why me? Really? Elise was quiet for a moment, tracing a coffee ring on the table with her finger. When I was on that floor, unable to breathe, watching people walk past, I realized how isolated I've become. How the company my grandfather built has turned into a place where people are afraid to help the CEO. It needs to change. I need to change it. She looked up at him. And maybe I need someone who sees me as a person first, not a position or a bank account. The sincerity in her eyes was unmistakable. This wasn't charity or a whim. Something about their unexpected encounter had affected her deeply. I'll think about it, Marcus promised. 2 weeks later, Marcus Wright walked into Montgomery Tower wearing a suit instead of a janitor's uniform. The security team he now led regarded him with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. The story of how he'd saved the CEO's life had circulated, but office politics being what they were, rumors of favoritism followed him like a shadow. Mr. Wright, Elise greeted him formally as he entered the executive floor for their first official meeting. Her assistant eyed him curiously. Ms. Montgomery, he replied with equal formality, though the twinkle in her eye suggested she found the pretense as amusing as he did. In her office, the same one where he'd found her gasping for breath, she closed the door and visibly relaxed. How's it going? Being honest. It's an adjustment, Marcus admitted. Some of the team think I'm only here because I saved your life. You are only here because you saved my life, she pointed out. But you'll stay because you're good at the job. Give it time. Over the following months, Marcus proved her right. His military background and natural leadership abilities emerged as he reorganized the security protocols. He hired more diverse staff, implemented better training, and created emergency response procedures that emphasized human safety over property protection. Elise, meanwhile, was making her own changes. She started eating lunch in the company cafeteria once a week, initiated an open-door policy for employees of all levels, and personally led a review of company benefits to ensure they supported working parents. Their professional relationship was cordial and appropriate, but there was an undeniable undercurrent between them. Sometimes, Marcus would catch Elise watching him during meetings, her expression thoughtful. Sometimes, she would find him looking at her when she spoke, paying attention in a way others didn't. Lily, however, had no such professional boundaries. She had taken to Elise immediately, and to Marcus's surprise, Elise had reciprocated. The Billionaire CEO found time in her impossible schedule to attend Lily's science fair, sending her driver when she was running late but arriving breathless just in time to see Lily win second place. You didn't have to come, Marcus told her as they watched Lily proudly showing her ribbon to her friends. I promised her I would, Elise said simply. I don't break promises. 6 months into his new position, Marcus was working late, reviewing security footage from a minor breach at one of their satellite offices. A soft knock at his door revealed Elise, still in her business attire despite the late hour. You're working too hard, she said, leaning against the doorframe. Says the woman who's still here at 9 p.m., he countered. She smiled, conceding the point. Lily's with Mrs. Patel? Marcus nodded. She's staying overnight. Lily has a field trip tomorrow, and I need to finish this report. Have you eaten? He hadn't, he realized. I was going to grab something from the vending machine. Elise made a face. Those vending machines are a health hazard. I've been meaning to replace them. She straightened up. Come on. Let's get real food. Elise, I need to finish this. The security breach can wait until morning. Food can't. Consider it an order from your boss. That was how Marcus found himself sitting across from Elise Montgomery in a small, family-owned Italian restaurant tucked away on a side street. The owner knew her by name, greeting her with kisses on both cheeks before leading them to a secluded table in the back. I found this place my first year as CEO, she explained as they settled in. When the pressure got too much, I'd sneak away here. No one expects to find Elise Montgomery eating spaghetti in a hole-in-the-wall restaurant. You're full of surprises, Marcus said, watching as she transformed from the formidable CEO into a woman who laughed with the owner and debated the merits of different pasta shapes. Over wine and pasta, their conversation flowed easily from work to more personal topics. Marcus found himself telling her about meeting Lily's mother in college, their early struggles, and the devastating cancer diagnosis that had left him a single father. She fought so hard, he said quietly. But in the end, all we could do was make her comfortable. Lily was only 5. Sometimes I worry she won't remember her mother. Elise reached across the table, her hand covering his. You keep her memory alive. That's all any of us can hope for. What about you? Marcus asked. Your file says you're divorced, but there's not much else. Elise took a sip of wine before answering. Richard was suitable on paper. Heir to a banking fortune, Ivy League education, the right connections. We married young, divorced 5 years later when he realized I was more interested in running my grandfather's company than hosting charity galas. His loss, Marcus said without thinking. Elisa's eyes met his, something warm and surprised in them. That's a very kind thing to say. It's not kind. It's true. The moment stretched between them, charge.